All right, we made it. This is our first part of this incredible wellness and yoga retreat. I'm Gabe and Juan. We're so excited that you're here with us, and check out this view. Right, Juan? Amazing, huh?
Yeah, incredible.
Right?
Still don't believe that I made it and came out here in Thailand, in the beach. It's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had some rain. We just had a nice big shower, which is why we're sitting up here and not a little closer to the water. But with this view that you have, there's no rain. I know it doesn't look like it's clear, but it's rather clear.
Yeah, and just be patient. We'll be sooner or later near the beach and the ocean. We've been there in the morning and it's really, really incredible. So yeah, first of all, thank you and thanks the people from our resort, from Juan and GabeYoga, for making this possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you for getting down
Yeah.
here, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to create collaborations,
Yeah.
and the same for you all over there and the people who are here. It takes effort and it takes time to step up and show up. And that's the benefit of wellness. Wellness is about showing up for ourselves. How do we discover, are we feeling good? Where are we? As we create this introduction, we're going to give you a little bit of a perspective of what is it that I and what is it that Juan consider as vehicles for health. But immediately for me, a big aspect for health is just the ability of connecting with oneself, but then connecting with the environment, much like you just connected with the gratitude of being here.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, usually we as consumers, we see some videos, some product, we don't see the behind the scenes. And it's kind of a little bit of related to wellness and health, that we usually tend to go and look towards the final objective, but we don't ask ourselves, are we gonna commit with the whole process? And yeah, people, the message that I would like to share with people is that they should commit to a process, enjoy the process, and then of course the results will come. As now we're having this awesome retreat, but yeah, there are many things behind that people usually don't see, or they don't put so much. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then the commitment part is on you, where the fact that you showed up on the first day, and hopefully you'll be with us all the way until the end. Now, whether you're live right here with us or you're watching this as a replay, the benefit of this collective weekend experience, right, as we start the year, is to first give you a foundation, something that you can put your 2 feet on the ground and feel stable from. And from a place of stability, you'll realize that you have a connection to what you need. We so often tend to go outside and think that, oh, that person has something, so I need what they have. Or I read something and I'd like to have what I just read about. And we're not necessarily really connecting to what is it that we need.
Yeah, exactly. We tend to look for the answers outside, when most of the answers might be inside of us, with our, that we were talking before, our self-awareness, our self-knowledge, and that, from after that, okay, we can start connecting and start creating things outside, reaching some sources, information, some knowledge available. But the first step, as you say, is connecting with our inner self. That's why it's so important, in this health approach, the spiritual part with the yoga, with the meditation, and then of course connecting with the food, the social environment, our sleep, our stress, many factors that we consider are important. But yeah, that would be the thing, to get inside ourselves, to then start to expand in the outside world.
Right,
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's why, first, it's a yoga. I mean, an aspect of yoga is connecting and becoming conscious of who and what we need and who we are.
Yeah.
And then as we establish that sense, so as we welcome you, and it's gorgeous, and you'll have an opportunity of experiencing the magic of being by the beach, depending on where you are, which means you're not right here with us, but then the beauty that your eyes get to absorb is the beauty that you know exists within you. And so it's important to recognize what Juan just said, that most of the knowledge lies inside of us.
Yeah.
so many of us want to go out and read or to go to other events and expect that someone else will have the answers.
Yeah.
And while we'll have tips and we will have recommendations and we will have some suggestions and directions, at the end of the day, you are the person who knows best. Same as on the yoga mat. You know what is working for you and what is not working for you. And as a teacher, especially for me coming from the yoga world, my hope is to be able to guide your awareness. And awareness begins with this introduction right now. Where do you feel that you are at this moment? And not just, oh, I'm sitting in my bed or I'm sitting at home, but take a moment and just look inside and ask yourself, how do you really feel? And rather than making it a weird word, let's look at specifics. Do you wake up in the morning and do you feel that you are easily letting go of what you put into your body the day before?
Yeah.
During the afternoon, do you still feel energized or do you need some pickup to get you through the morning challenge? Let's put it that way. And then do you like the people you're around? We're not asking if they like you, but we're asking if you like those people around you. Do you enjoy having an intimacy around you? And then Juan did point out that the word spiritual for me is how are we connecting to our lives? How do we connect to the world? And so do you feel excited about life? Do you feel enthusiastic? Maybe not every moment of every day, but on a general level. Do you feel that you have a purpose and that you feel connected to why you're alive? So these are 4 interesting questions, aren't they?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I would like to add, and I think it's extra value being here, being able to connect with nature, because nowadays most of the people may be in a lockdown or inside their homes, and we are so grateful, and we would like to share this feeling being here, connecting with nature, the beach, in the ocean, with the landscape, with the trees around, which is, I believe, is also vital of this part of self-knowledge or self-realization, spiritual life, to be able to connect with the environment around us, not only the people, but with Mother Nature, that we might tend to be most of our lives nowadays being sedentary, sitting down, working computer, moving inside buildings or malls or driving our cars. I believe it's vital to be able to have this contact with the nature that will help us in all this well-being. So I would like to point out that also.
Oh, fantastic. So Juan is just asking you to consider how much time do you have in nature as part of the feeling of wellness.
Yeah, and of course, all of the other things that you mentioned, I would like to, the same questions, they say like the quality of the questions we ask ourselves every day will kind of determine the quality of our lives. So the more we question ourselves and our lives, we'll reach to deeper answers and we'll have better, happier life and results, you say. So that's why it's so important to ask the questions that you mentioned before. Yeah.
So here we have 2 perspectives on wellness for you, right? I first just wanted you to take a moment and just ask the simple questions, right? Because if you're sitting at home, the immediate answer to whether I'm in nature is no.
Yeah.
And that would be a negative mental place.
Yeah.
And I know that you're with us and we have a little better perspective for you because we are in an open environment. But even we have a roof over our head and Mother Nature is in our eyes.
Yeah.
And we are grateful that we can walk our feet on the sand. And we are conscious that for some of you, you're living in a winter environment. And chances are you're not going to take your socks off and start walking around in the snow barefoot. And you're probably not going to want to spend 3 hours in nature on a regular level.
Yeah.
Right? But for me and my approach towards health, and in a second we'll give you a chance to see what we're giving you this particular retreat, as I look at wellness and direct individuals about how to approach being healthy, which I'm going to repeat over and over in our sessions. first lies with the 4 questions I gave you. Are you comfortable when you wake up? Meaning, when you go out of your bed, you were eating things the day before. They're in your stomach. Can you let them go easily? Do they move easily out of your body? Can you easily move your body? We're going to call that exercise. How many of you actually have exercise? Now, if you're in our retreat, then at least yoga is going to be in your weekend if it's not been there before. So you'll have a chance to see how doing yoga regularly changes your feeling in just 3 days. Exercise is one of the most important foods, I'm going to call it, that we need, that most people just don't have. And so after we see if we have exercise, we look at, well, do we have a relationship to why we have a reason to live? Do we have a feeling that we're contributing in a certain sense to our personal environment, to our friends? We can call that work. Maybe you just work in the garden. Maybe you work with your little kids at home. Maybe you work with your family to establish a good home. I'm not going to determine what work you like to do, but if you don't have a sense of doing something, we tend to feel a sense of loss. And here in Thailand, with so many temples around us, even in a temple where you have no worries, you get the food that you want, you don't need any money, and there's no work that you have to do, every monk gets a job to do, whether they clean the dishes, whether they clean the yard, whether they clean the toilets, whether they cook the food. Every person has something to do, because doing something is, again, a form of food, a substance for the soul. So we have exercise, we have work, we have the relationships that we have with those that we care about. And I'm going to define that a little bit more specific to the person that you want to spend time with intimately. Now, that might be yourself, and if you're super content being alone intimately with yourself, then that's fantastic. However, if you are living with a person, or if you would like to live with a person, and you're not feeling you yourself, not feeling that you're getting the intimacy that you want, then that's going to feel like you're not sustaining yourself well. And so then suddenly, the intimacy becomes a food.
Yeah.
And then the last part is that aspect of what Juan was pointing out, the spirituality. And while that word might be uncomfortable for some of you, and you will immediately try to think of religion, for me, I like to try to approach it with a slightly different word, which is purpose of life. Do you feel that there is a reason to live? Do you feel that there's something larger to yourself than just waking up and going to the toilet and sleeping with my partner? That could be called spirituality, and I like to think of it as a purpose of life. These 4 foods, I call them, are not even my words. In fact, they come from the school that I went to, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, where Dr. Joshua Rosenthal, he was the one defining these primary foods. That without these, when these are off balance, we tend to feel off balance. And then we fill the imbalance with the food or the addictions that we develop through life. And so my hope through this weekend is to elaborate more on these 4 foods, primary foods, as well as give you tips on how to handle the secondary foods so that you can appreciate that the food that I eat is good for me, but it might not really be the food that is good for you. And we're going to call that bio-individuality. That what works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And it's each and every one of us that's going to have to understand what works best for me. And yet, overall, all of us want to feel nutritious by feeling good moving the body, feeling good doing something with the body, enjoying the quality of life with another person, and actually recognizing that I actually like living in this domain, and I'm okay.
Exactly. Well, something that you mentioned that I would like to add a little bit more as regards the relationships. The first step is crucial that we start loving ourselves, so we cannot have literally either call it a formal or friend relationship or partner. The first step is I believe, is loving ourselves, and after that we can start to have relationships with the external world, let's say. And then relating a little bit with the food and the nutrition, well, maybe the same concept. Loving ourselves means trying to put what best suits our body for our objective, our own purpose. Many people tend to go around looking for the best diet or the best food without really knowing what works best for them. Like in yoga, usually we say we have to listen to our body. So in nutrition, there is more and more evidence, as you said, that nutrition has to be personalized to each individual needs. So that's why what might work for Gabe might not work for me, and vice versa. So that's the message that we're gonna share and try to explain, and of course, we're gonna give some facts, some science, some evidence around some kind of eating patterns, about different kind of things related to food. But at the end, we would like you to try and to feel by yourself what's really going on inside your body, and that will determine what kind of food or diet works best for you. So yeah.